Now in its 9th season, it's Prodigy Bowlers Tour, celebrating junior bowling and elevating junior bowlers. Today, episode 178, the 2024 Kansas City Open November Point Tournament. 5 players have qualified for the TV finals, but only one can leave as the Division I champion. Here are the 5 finalists. Making his first appearance on Prodigy is the 5 seed, Caleb Conroe of Lee Summit. He'll face the 4 seed, Caden White, also of Lee Summit. The winner of that opening match will challenge the 3 seed, Rhett Ryman of Kansas City, Kansas. That winner will take on the 2 seed, Anthony Dokalis, whose older brother PJ won this event last year. And that winner will bowl for the title against Jesse Holtkamp. He's making his first appearance on Prodigy today as the tournament leader. One of these 5 young athletes will survive the stepladder to claim the Division I title at the November KCO and will sign the coveted trophy pin on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. We welcome you back to Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, about 45 miles due west of the southwestern tip of the Kansas City metro area, and just a few blocks up Iowa Street from the University of Kansas. Rock Chalk. As longtime viewers of Prodigy know by now, at the Kansas City Open, there are 5 average-based divisions, with Divisions 2 through 5 bowling handicap, and Division I, whose bowlers all sport an average of 200 and higher, while they bowl scratch. Players are split into 2 squads, the A squad and the B squad. It's first come, first served as far as choosing which squad you want to bowl in, so if you sign up early, you get your choice of squads. A squad usually sells out first because the better players want to bowl on the fresh oil. And since the lanes are oiled first thing in the morning and then everybody bowls on the burn after that, the early bird gets the fresh oil. A squad goes off first in the morning, then B squad, with each squad bowling 3 games in the morning block. Then they return for 3 more in the afternoon block. And after everybody finishes their 6 games of qualifying, the field is cut to the top 5 for the championship round stepladder finals in all 5 divisions. Here on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we record the stepladder finals in 2 of those divisions each month. We cover Division I every month, plus one of the handicap divisions. On our last episode of Prodigy, we brought you the Division II group here in Lawrence, and today our focus will be on Division I. So here's how the stepladder lays out, with Prodigy first-timer Caleb Conroe in the 5th position, taking on our 4 seed Caden White in the opening match. The winner moves up the ladder to take on the 3 seed, and so forth, with the winner of each match advancing as long as he keeps winning. We have 2 of our 3 reigning players of the year in the field today, with Caden White and Rhett Ryman, plus the younger brother of the defending champion. And one of our 2 first-timers today has a connection to one of Prodigy's most popular players from our days in Georgia. More about that a little later. But it's time now to get this party started with match 1 between Caleb Conroe and Caden White. Both of these fellows live in Lee Summit, one of the Kansas City suburbs southeast of the city. Although they don't bowl at the same bowling center, Caleb bowls league at Summit Lanes, while Caden bowls at Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton, Missouri, where we'll be in March for the 2nd adult youth doubles tournament of the season. Caden White, being the higher finisher, had the choice of starting lanes. He has elected to let Caleb lead off. And looky here, we've got us another left-hander. Suddenly had a whole bunch of those on the show recently. Oh, yikes. That one does not get up to the head pin, and Caleb has left himself the washout to begin the match. Here's how you make the left-handers wash out. Put the ball on the 1-3, drive the 1 pin over into the 7. The ball will get the 3 and the 6. If it all goes according to Hoyle. See what Caleb can do with it. Well, he had the right idea, but just got a little too much of the head pin. So an open frame to start. You never like giving away pins right from the outset. And now his opponent, Caden White. He qualified 5th in September in Olathe. Finished 3rd that day. He's 17, turns 18 in March. And the light shaker can't quite shake the 8. So he'll have a simple spare to contend with. Caden says he wants to be a physical therapist when he grows up. And I say good for him. Easy spare for this young player from Lee Summit, Missouri. Lee Summit, a suburb of Kansas City, just south and east of KCMO. But that whole Lee Summit area is turning out to be a hotbed of talent in youth bowling. We're seeing more and more kids come out of Lee Summit here lately. Light hit, won't get up. 2-4-5-8, the bucket. This one of those spares you got to be careful with. There's all kinds of ways to miss this. You want to put the ball on the 2 and 5 with enough hook power on it that you drive that ball through to carry out the 8. But you want to be careful and not take the 2 off the 5. And Caden handles it with ease. So now Caleb Conroe will take a run at the right lane on this pair. We're bowling on 9 and 10. That's the end pair of the 5 stepladder pairs that are all bowling right now. Crossing over, gets a Brooklyn. Well, you take them any way you can get them, although you don't really love those. I don't know, maybe you do. Knowing that was like a runaway train. If you get away with it and get a strike, I guess you could learn to love those. But I guarantee you he'll feel a whole lot better if he can find the pocket on this shot. Oh, he gets another crossover. He must be living right. We'll take another look at it. See how he wraps that ball around his back? And his spine angle is almost parallel to the floor. It is hard to be accurate when you're facing the left wall when you let the ball go. Oh my. Caden seemed to have missed right. He got that one well to the right of his target, I believe. But we bowl on the house shot. Farther right or left, you throw it. On the outside of the lane, it gets pretty dry, and that ball will hook hard. And he leaves an easy spare. Caden won't miss many of those. He's a good spare shooter. covers the 4-7. Just 5 pins separate these two. Caleb with a double, Caden with 3 spares. There's the pocket. And Caden White registers his first strike of the match. Watch it again. 5-step approach. It's got a little bit of a slide. Foot perpendicular to the foul line. He's playing just outside the 4th arrow, and bang. 6 kicks out the 10. Just the way you draw it up. Now Caleb can extend his lead to 15 with a strike here in the 4th. Oh, and he gets the light shaker. It's the wall shot with a little delayed reaction from the 10. Watch this. He will hit the head pin very light. It'll go to the right wall. Come back and get the 6, which gets the 5, and the head pin also knocks out the 10. Gotta love it. Well, he cut that one a little short, like he did on those 2 Brooklyns. You know, it's an old expression in bowling, I think coined by the great Billy Whaley back in the 60s. Trust is a must, or your game is a bust. What he's saying with that expression is you got to trust it. Out to the right if you're a right-hander, out to the left if you're a left-hander. Got to give it room to hook. Look at this. He even gets his spare ball to hook. Well, he might do well to learn to throw a much straighter shot by just coming up the back of the ball, or even go to a backup ball the way Caden has done for some spares. It can be very effective. It's a nice extra tool to have in your bag of tricks. Boy, there's another good strike for Caden. Looks like he's finally figured out the pair. 2 in a row where he kicked out the 10 pin. Watch it again. That ball under his head, or even a little to the left of that, which is better. His hand completely on the bottom of the ball, way below the equator. Look how close that ball is to his ankle. That is ideal. Very rarely will you see Caden out of balance at the foul line. But once again, that ball just will not come up. It's almost like there's a little hang spot on that lane. And once again, the very choppable 2-4-5. At least he got the 8 to go. That makes this a slightly easier spare without the sleeper, but it's still choppable. There's that backup. Oh, but you know what? If you're going to play a backup at that spare, you want to play it from the right side of the lane. That widens the gap between the 2 and the 4, and that's what got him. Chopped the 2 right off the 4 like a left-hander might. So just like Caleb had surrendered the lead with his open in the 4th, Caden gives it right back with an open in the 6th. Oh my goodness. Caleb just a little high with that one. It looked like he pulled it off his hand, but it was trying to set in the oil, but no dice. The 6-8. Here's how you make it. Got to just graze the edge of the 6 pin, slide it over into the 8. It's doable. But he gets far too much of the 6 pin. So that is Caleb's third open of the game. 3 opens in 6 frames. Not a recipe for success. Well, Caleb is 15. He turns 16 in just a few weeks in December. Oh, and he rips the rack with that one, leaving no doubt. Watch this. That ball is going to hit fairly light in the pocket, but he comes straight up the back of it, which gives it maximum roll, and it just shreds the rack. Wow. All right, Caden. Now that's how you want the ball going through the pins right there. No deflection. Watch this again. Caden's going to show you a perfect strike here. The ball touches 4 pins. The 1, 3, 5, 9. That's how it's done. That time it didn't quite get up. Kind of hit in the half pocket and then deflected to the right. You want that ball going through the pins without much deflection. His ball deflected to the right and went off the back of the pin deck back behind the 9 pin. But as I mentioned earlier, Caden, an excellent spare shooter, takes care of the 10 pin. But now Caleb with an opportunity. He trails by 5, but he has a strike working. If he can put a strike up here in the 8th, he'll take the lead. Oh man, that looked like it was crowding the head pin a little bit. But he stuffed him straight back. High flush. Watch it again. He gets around this one a little more than I think he wanted to. Over about 12 with the arrows. Man, it just barely caught all 10. Another half a board to the right, and that would have been flirting with Split City. 9th frame, double working. Yeah, that could have been just about anything. Could have been a 3-7, 3-7-9, 3-9-10. He had all kinds of combinations peeking at him. But he gets away with it and leaves just the 9. Heck, just the 3 pin going out late made this a much easier spare than it would have been if he had the 3-9. This is fairly routine. And he covers it. So we're down to the 9th and 10th. It's a tight match. Caden White trailing by 4. He's going to need to catch a double somewhere along the way to take the lead. Well, there's one. Can't throw it any better than that. Watch it again. This is like the last one he threw on that lane. I mean, it just goes through the pins with very little deflection. He just labeled the pins. Okay, so here's the deal. Because he has a strike up and Caleb is working on a spare, Caden can shut out Caleb with a double and count. Oh no. But instead he goes through the nose and leaves himself a very difficult split. The 4-7-10. Put the ball over on the 7 pin, just barely tick the 4. You can slide it all the way across the lane into the 10. It's a beautiful thing when it happens, but he's got to make it happen here. Went with his backup, but it didn't back up. And so that's an open frame in the 10th. And what a bad time for a big wide open split. Caden hands a big lead to Caleb Conroe, and now Caleb just needs 7 pins on this ball, and he can put this match away. Take it home. Caleb Conroe with a big upset in match 1, knocking off Caden White. Over about 12 at the arrows, out to about 4 or 5 at the break point, and he just rips them apart. And he gets a backdoor tilt out of the 5 pin. You don't see that very often. I want to see that again. How did he do that? He got the ball moving away from the 5 pin, and yet somehow, some way, something touches the 5 and just tilts it out. Possible 203 with a strike here. There it is. It's a 203 to 175 victory for Caleb Conroe. He takes match 1, and now he's on to our second match. His next opponent, our other player of the year, Rhett Ryman, next. Here's a look at how the qualifying round went down in Division I today at the KCO. Of course, you know who finished in the top 5. Eli Nathan made a solid bid to get into the stepladder for his first time. He's the alternate in 6th. There's the Dill Pickle, Dylan Pollard in 13th place. Colton Swift in 15th. We just saw him on Prodigy. In 20th place, Andrew Coleman, our winner in Gladstone in Division I last month. Our Division I winner in September at Olathe Lanes East, Cooper Farmer, he finished 22nd. And there in 28th and 29th, Colton Boob and Landon Stoddard. Things didn't quite go their way today. In that opening match you just watched, Caden White fought right till the end and even gave himself a chance to shut out Caleb Conroe at the end when he got a foundation strike in the 9th. But then an ill-timed wide-open split in the 10th frame spelled disaster for our first of 2 co-players of the year in the field today, Caden White, who finishes 5th. So it's Caleb Conroe who now advances to match 2 and will face our other co-player of the year in the field today, Rhett Ryman, the number 3 qualifier. Surprisingly, this is Rhett's first appearance on Prodigy this season, so I gotta believe he's chomping at the bit to make his presence felt. It's hard to know what to expect from our first-timer on Prodigy today, Caleb Conroe, but defeating a player of Caden White's quality in his opening match has to have buoyed Caleb's confidence. This could be another down-to-the-wire match. Tell you what, Caleb's going to need all the confidence he can muster because he's going to have to go through a murderer's row of opponents. I'm going to tell you what, if he throws enough shots like that, I think he can probably do it. But Rhett Ryman is a player you cannot take lightly. As we watch that opening toss by Caleb once again. Throws it out to about 10 at its widest point. And that was stuffed. All right, Rhett Ryman, who bowled one of 2 300 games on Prodigy last season. Oh, and he almost left the 7-10 to start, but that messenger took care of the 10-pin. A style that Prodigy viewers are quite familiar with. Got to about 7 or 8 at the break point, and he just makes the pins dance. Both players with a powerful strike to start. Rhett Ryman going for a double. And he gets the light shaker to take him out, using his ability to loft the ball to delay the hook. Here's that shot again in split screen. There's that loft. He lofts it almost halfway to the arrows. Gets him to scatter. I think he liked it. He doesn't really show you much on the lanes, but I guarantee you he liked that one. There's a good one from Caleb. Both of these players come out of the starting gate striking. Here's Caleb's footwork. Got that little skip step that Jason Belmonte made famous for two-handers. And Caleb gets that 4-pin to slap out the 7. This time the 4-pin decides to be lazy. Lays down in the gutter, does not take out the 7, so our string of strikes stops after each player opened with a pair of them. Caleb moves to the right side of the lane, goes cross lane at the 7. I tell you what, he hooks that spare ball more than most people do. He might benefit from learning to throw it a little straighter. Just come up the back of the ball. Don't try to give it much lift or turn, certainly. Or just do what Rhett's doing. Don't leave a spare. We saw him throw 12 of these in a row on Prodigy at the KCO Invitational back in June. The first 300 game bowled on Prodigy Bowlers Tour since we moved the show from Georgia to the Kansas City area. And then on the very next show, Nolan Nash did it. We had 2 of them in back-to-back events. Well, that one just doesn't get up. I think Rhett met that hang spot that Caden White fought with. So his string stops at 3. And just 10 pins separate these 2 young bowlers. Rhett says his favorite pro is Anthony Simonson. Takes care of the 2. And so Caleb will try to throw a double here to even the match. Looked like he pulled it. Yep, through the nose. Nearly had the 4-10. The 10 goes out. He's left with only the 4. You'd have to call that a fortunate break. and he covers it. Caleb Conroe, as I mentioned earlier, he turned 16 in December. This kid has only been bowling since he was 13. His first league was when he was 14, so he's really only been bowling about 2.5 years or so. I'd say he's a natural. If what we're looking at is the product of just a couple of years at our sport, that's pretty impressive. One thing I have to say is I don't see him falling off balance like we do with so many. Obviously, we don't see as much of that in the Division I group. But he's rock steady at the foul line. How do you not love that? That's 10 in the pit right there. But Rhett Ryman with an 11-pin lead. And he's pretty rock solid at the foul line, too. The only thing I ever see Rhett do sometimes is hop at the foul line. Didn't do it that time, though. Well done. Okay, who can string some strikes here? If Rhett can throw a strike here in the 6th, he'll extend his lead to 21. I think he was expecting that to jump a little bit at the end. He was giving it the abracadabra with his right hand. Here's a side-by-side with these two-handers. One a right-hander, one a left-hander, synced up at the release point. And as you can see, Rhett's ball will outrace Caleb's, which only means he throws it a little harder. Well, that one was just wide left. And even though we're bowling on the house shot, there are limits to how much swing area or pull area you're going to have. And he found out there is a limit to how far he can miss left. But an easy spare. And he makes short work of it. In most adult leagues around the nation, you leave a 5-pin, there will be lots of hands that go up, which just means if you miss that 5-pin, you're buying a round of drinks for the house. I don't drink, so I never collected. Tell you what, I believe Caleb is preferring that left lane over the right lane. But he's going to have to figure out the right lane because he's going to finish on it. Just enough to get the 5 to go. And if it hadn't gone, I think that pin off the wall, probably the head pin, was going to get it anyway. All right, Rhett working on a double, can extend his lead. Well, he got that one a little wider than maybe he'd have liked. I think he knew it could have struck, but sometimes you take the scenic route like that, the ball runs out of energy by the time it gets to the pocket. And I think that's what happened there. But he won't miss many 10 pins. Takes care of it. So it is a 20-pin advantage for Rhett Ryman. But Caleb has that strike working in the 7th. So if he can throw a strike in the 8th, he'll cut into that lead, cut it in half. That assumes that Rhett marks here in the 8th. And so far, both players have a clean game going. Big loft, big strike. Watch it again. Look how far he lofts this ball out on the lane. It's not halfway to the arrows, but it's a third of the way there. All right, Caleb would love to take advantage of that strike he has in the 7th. But no, not only does he not strike, but he spreads the 3 and 5. Did you see that? How the 5-pin got moved a little farther to the left? That opens the gap between the 3 and 5, making this an easier spare to chop, especially when you shoot it the way he does from the left side of the lane, hooking it. But he puts that ball right between the 3 and 5, and that takes all the stress out of that spare. But now he's trailing by 20, and Rhett has the strike up. So Rhett can just about run away and hide here at the end, as you see Caleb put down his towel with some vigor. He's not happy. Oh! Well, all sins are forgiven, I guess. Look at this. This goes right through the nose. What gets the 4-pin from behind? That's the head pin. That's the 1-pin back behind the 4 that tips it forward. Well, well, well. That's a good trick. I'll have to learn that one. All right, Rhett, working on a strike, can extend his lead to 30. But instead, he sends that one wide. Sometimes Rhett will just overthrow the ball. He'll just throw it too hard, like a golfer on the putting green. Hits the putt too hard. He putts it through the break. Rhett will do that sometimes on the bowling lane. He'll throw it through the break. The 2-4-5. Got to be careful with this one. Very choppable. But not when you put the ball there. So here we go into the 10th frame. Rhett with a 20-pin lead. But here's the situation. Caleb can strike out for 228. Rhett is going at a 228 pace. When we speak of a pace, that means going strike, spare the rest of the way. So if Rhett fills 20 in the 10th, strike, spare, he'd shoot 228. Caleb would need 3 strikes in the 10th to match him. But Rhett can shut him out with a double right here. Oh, well now. Here is something we didn't see coming. The 1-8-10. I don't think we've ever seen this on Prodigy. It's what I would call the naked washout, but that 8-pin adds a level of difficulty. You really need to shoot this from the left side of the lane. If Rhett hooks it down the right side and hits the head pin correctly, that ball will miss the 8. And that's exactly what happened. When you hook the ball down the right side of the lane at the washout, that ball will deflect left off the left side of the head pin and will miss the 8. That's exactly what's happened. And look at how this has changed matters. Caleb Conroe was trailing by 20 pins when Rhett got up in the 10th frame, but now he's trailing by only 6 and has a strike up in the 9th. So Caleb can win this match with a strike on the first ball in the 10th. but he must strike. If he spares here in the 10th, the best he can do is 208, and that won't get him home. Well, it'll get him home, but it means he'll be leaving now. He needs a strike on this ball. And he rips the rack. Well, that's the way to throw an emphatic strike. Wow. You can't throw it any better than this. Watch the 5-pin, the one behind the head pin. It'll whistle over into the 10. The swisher. That is my favorite kind of strike right there. Now he just needs good count. Oh, well, that's as good a count as you can get. That's the goodest kind of count. Tell you what, this guy has impressed me. Right over the second arrow, out to about 5 at the break point. 10 in the pit. Hello. Possible 228. It'll be a 226 to 214 victory, and Caleb Conroe has won his first 2 matches on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, defeating 2 of the 3 reigning Players of the Year, Caden White and Rhett Ryman. But there's no rest for the weary. He's got another tough opponent coming up in the next match. It's Anthony Dokolas. Wow, what a match that was. Rhett Ryman led the entire way, right up until he left that unusual washout, the 1-8-10 in the 10th frame, and finished with an open, forcing Caleb Conroe to strike in the 10th to win, which he did. So it's a tough loss for Rhett to swallow, and a satisfying win for Caleb, who now advances to match 3, where his next opponent is Anthony Douglas. Anthony is riding high after bowling his first 300 game in league last week. His older brother PJ won this tournament 1 year ago, and I'm sure Anthony would love nothing more than to defend his brother's title. But Caleb Conroe is on a roll after defeating both of our reigning players of the year that were in the field today. That's pretty heady stuff, so all signs point to this match being another hard-fought battle. Anthony Douglas, being the higher qualifier, had the option. He wants to go first. And there's that hang spot on lane 9 again. We've talked about it before. Hit that spot and the ball is not going to finish quite the way you're expecting. Wall shot doesn't quite get the 7. Anthony won't have any problem with this, though. Easy spare. Well, Caleb Conroe's high game is a 299. I didn't think to ask what he left. And his high series, 792. Light hit. Takes out the 5 and 6, leaving just the 3. It certainly makes this spare a heck of a lot easier. So when I asked Caleb how he got started bowling, he said, just went up to the bowling center and tried it out, and liked it, got serious, and decided it's the sport for me. I'd say it is. Another one of the many young players we have that says Jason Belmonte is his favorite. Tell you what, Belmo has inspired so many young people all around the world to take up this sport. You might say he's become the Johnny Appleseed of bowling, at least for two-handers. Wow. Nearly a stone 8, but those pins just exploded when he hit them. Watch this. Hand under the ball through the release. That's how you're going to rev it up. Tell you what, that ball almost missed the 8-pin. Actually, I think the ball did miss the 8-pin. Something else got it. Ooh. Well, Anthony Douglas getting a little friendly pinfall that time. Looked like it wanted to be a wall shot, and then the 5-pin got paralyzed for a moment, and then something else got it. Watch this. Wow, it got hit by the ball and stood back up by something else, but there was some other pin came to the rescue. All right, both players start spare strike, so we're all even through 2. Just a pinch high on that one. Anthony just trying to get lined up on this pair of lanes. These players bowl their qualifying in 2 squads, morning and afternoon. They bowl the morning on one pair of lanes, the afternoon on another pair of lanes. Could be anywhere in the house. Chances are this is the first time they've seen this pair. They get 2 practice balls on each lane before their first stepladder match, so they're not completely cold. And now Caleb, sensing the moment, with that strike up in the second, he can take an early lead here if he can register a double. Oh, but that 4-pin playing possum again in the gutter won't get up and kick out the 7. So he'll need to get out that spare ball again. I'm not going to lie, he makes me nervous with this spare ball. He hooks it more than I see most players hook their spare ball. See, he almost hooked past that thing. But it's a conversion. So, monkey see, monkey do. Both players spare, strike, spare to start. Another one that looks like it could have struck. But once again, kind of finished behind the head pin just enough. Bowling, a sport that requires a perfect combination of speed, revs, and angle. See, that ball looked like it was heading for the gutter. And he still almost hooked past it. And that's his spare ball. All right, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but dude, learn to throw that spare ball straight. You're going to give me a heart attack. Oh, hello. There's the nose. Anthony Douglas, that ball just jumped at the end. Just enough that it just chopped the 5 right off the 9 and left the 4. So here's how you make the 4-9. Put the ball on the left edge of the 4, slide it across the lane into the 9. He can do this. No, he gave it a go. Missed it by that much. How much? Let's see if we can pick up just how close that was. There he is, just hitting the left side, but that's a little too much of the 4. It just slips past the 9, missing behind it by a couple of inches maybe. They say football is a game of inches. Bowling is a game of fractions of inches. And that ball goes through the nose, and he could have left most anything there. The 3-6. We've seen some chops today. This is one of those spares that got to be careful with. Especially if you're a right-hander throwing a hook at this. This is why we recommend moving to the extreme left side of the lane. Cut down on the chance of chopping it. Anthony goes a little extra speed to keep that ball on line. But Caleb with a 12-pin advantage. Man, he planted that one in the hole. He looks pretty casual out there, I must say. But I gotta believe his heart is pounding. He really hit that one good. I mean, he caught all of it when it came off his hand. Pins had no chance. See if he can do it again. Oh my goodness, he actually sent that one a little wider than he had been sending some of them. And it caught the dry outside part of the lane and just hooked right through the nose. Here's how you make the 4-6. It's been done once on Prodigy Bowlers Tour by this guy, Antonio Miranda, at the Prodigy Tournament of Champions in 2023. I'd never seen it made that way, sliding one of the pins across the lane. Is he going to go for it? No, he'll just take one, and that's the smart play most of the time. Unless you gotta make it. He just takes the count, minimizes the damage, and we have a match that is all square as Anthony Douglas gets up in the 6th frame, working on a spare. And he gets a solid strike. And that's got to make him feel good, because now he can take advantage of that open frame by Caleb and move out into the lead. Watch this, over about 9 at the break point. Little deflection, but he got enough of it to get that 6 pin to pop out the 10. All right, this strike for the lead. Oh, there you go. Thought that 5 pin was going to stay. Didn't look like it came off his hand quite right. Here's Anthony's footwork. 4-step approach, just like his brother. Heel first, that is what makes him a planter. And that ball really wasn't driving through the pins like he would have liked, but he got the wall shot. And now Caleb trails by 10. And he gets a strike to set himself up for a chance to pull back even again. He needs this next strike in the 8th to do it. This was a real good bounce back shot after that open. Over about 12 at the arrows, out to about 8 or 9 at the break point. Down they go. But now he needs this one to pull even. Oh, what in the world was that? He just got completely around that ball and just yanked it right. Wow. That was an errant shot with a capital E. And just throw your strike ball. Well, don't throw the strike ball you just threw, but your normal strike ball, that one. Oh, he goes with his spare ball, which he predictably hooks enough to get it to the pocket. I'm telling you, this kid makes me nervous. He's a good bowler, but he sure makes me nervous. All right. Anthony Douglas with a 10-pin lead, working on a double. He can just about put Caleb out of his misery here. Well, I guess that's a ripper. A little ripper. How about a side-by-side showing the two Douglas brothers? PJ, the defending champion at this event, and Anthony's older brother, who has aged out of youth bowling. Here they're synced up at release. A lot of similarities in their games. Stands to reason. They grew up learning to bowl together. PJ off at college now, done with youth bowling. Although I believe PJ is coming to be the adult partner with Anthony at next month's Adult Youth Doubles Tournament, the KCO, and don't sleep on them. They definitely could be there. All right, Caleb, it's go time. He's got his back to the wall now. And that's not how to climb out of the hole. So he now trails by 32 with a spare here, and, well, his hopes are dimming quickly, I'm afraid. Well, and there's that hooking spare ball that I've talked about ad nauseum today. I think he would be well served by figuring out how to throw it without putting the axis rotation on it so he can keep it on line. Or throw more of those and don't leave spares. Easier said than done, I'm afraid. Tell you what, though, he's shown me a lot today. I didn't know a thing about Caleb Conroe before this day. I now know that he is a very promising young bowler. And I have a feeling we might just see him again and again and again. Well, that was enough to hand the match to Anthony Douglas, but I think the match was lost before that. Those two opens in the 6th and the 9th, while Anthony was stringing together a 4-bagger. That'll do it. 174, not the game he'd hoped to bowl, but Caleb has had a really good day, going from 5th to 3rd in the stepladder. Not a bad showing for his first time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. There's a 5-bagger now by Anthony Douglas. And he's just piling on the strikes. He started the match a little slow. But boy, once he got locked in, those pins have been cooperating. I can count to 6. That puts him in the 230s. Finish with a 7-bagger for 237. What do you think? I think he's going to finish with a 6 count. Well, you don't want to use them all up. He's going to need some in this next match, but it is Anthony Douglas who takes match 3 after Caleb Conroe had a heck of a day, but Jesse Holtkamp waits in the wings for his chance next. That was quite a performance today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour by Caleb Conroe, whose first appearance produced 2 matches in which he came out on top, and then a 3rd match where he led through the first half of the match before his opponent, Anthony Douglas, got lined up and uncorked a 6-bagger to take control. So congratulations to Caleb on a solid 3rd-place finish, and to Anthony Douglas, who did what he wanted to do, get into the title match to have a chance to win the same tournament in the same division that his brother PJ made as his last KCO victory 1 year ago before aging out. But standing in Anthony's way is our tournament leader, who's making his first appearance on Prodigy today. I had a chance to visit with him a few minutes ago. A player unknown to Prodigy land until today.
Hey.
So, who are you?
I'm Jesse. This is my 2nd year living in Kansas, so 2nd year doing these tournaments.
But you moved up to this area from?
Southeast Alabama, right 30 minutes from Georgia border.
Okay, so you were still a good long ways away
from the Atlanta area,
Yes.
but you would come up regularly, or semi-regularly at least, to bowl the GYBT.
Yeah.
And there's a bowler in Georgia that viewers of Prodigy Bowlers Tour are very well familiar with, that you're pretty good friends with, am I correct?
Yeah.
And who would that be?
Hunter Moffett.
Hunter Moffett, the winningest player ever on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And this guy, didn't I hear that you roomed with him at Junior Gold?
Yeah, I did.
So you guys must be pretty good buddies.
And this year, it's going to be me, Hunter. Y'all might know who Carson Barnes is.
I know who Carson Barnes
You
is.
do.
He never appeared on Prodigy. I
Prodigy.
tried to get him to come up.
And then my best friend, Chris Daughtry, he bowls in GYBTs. And we're going to all get an Airbnb this year for Junior Gold.
Well, say hello to Hunter Moffett, because I know he's going to be watching this.
Hey, Hunter.
And I just wish you the best in this upcoming match.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So the championship match today pits Anthony Dokolas, the younger brother of the first Kansas City area winner of the coveted trophy pin on Prodigy, against Jesse Holtkamp, the good friend of the all-time winningest player on Prodigy, Hunter Moffett. I think we're in for one of those special matches that'll have us on the edge of our seats. Although one thing we won't have to stress over is telling them apart, even though they're wearing the same PBA Junior bowling shirt. Anthony is 6'2", Jesse is 5'3". Well, I tell you what, Anthony got away with one that time. A little high, could have been the 4-9. But the 4 falls out, and he's left with just the 9 pin. An easy spare. Anthony's been bowling since he was 4. I think it runs in the family. In September, at the very first KCO of the season, Anthony qualified in the number 2 position, just as he did today. He finished second that day, losing in the championship match to Cooper Farmer, another short player, just 5'2". Well, Jesse a little light with that toss, leaves the 2. Just like Anthony, this kid's been bowling since he was 4 years old. Has a high game of 288, a high series of 804. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I'll bet he's not all that nervous about shooting this 2-pin. Although you see how he fell off balance? I have noticed him doing that occasionally, and I think that's caused by him getting his center of gravity too far out ahead of him. When he bowls, watch how far forward his spine angle gets. And when that happens, you tend to be out of balance at the foul line. The brain knows not to step past the foul line, so the player falls off to the right. Didn't do it that time. Solid strike. And I tell you what, you don't get to be the tournament leader if you didn't throw a lot of those during Tournament Sunday. This is one of his best shots. All right. Anthony up on lane 10. I mentioned earlier that Anthony recently bowled his first 300 game. That was actually after we taped this broadcast, and unfortunately there's no video of it. But another Prodigy bowler had their first 300 this past week, and there is video. That player was Fiona West, who you saw in our last episode, the Division II finals from this same tournament in Lawrence. Here's her 12th ball at Aaron's Family Fun Center. And so we offer hearty congratulations to Fiona West and to Anthony Douglas on their recent 300s. Boom. We can imagine that there were about 12 just like that in Anthony's perfect game. This one won't be perfect because he started with a spare, but over about 14 out to about 8. And I'll tell you what, you throw it like that, they're going to go down most of the time. Jesse, I think you're going to have to bring it this game. Oh, well, that's one way of bringing it. He ran that one out. Clear down to about lane 12. Watch it. Light shaker. Head pin goes to the left wall. Comes back, gets the 4, 7, 8. Another Billy Whaleyism. Hit him thin and watch him spin. All right. Wow. It's a good thing you were watching from a safe distance. You might have got sucked in by the backdraft of that one. 5-step approach. Here he is at release. Now, what I don't like is that gap between the ball and his ankle. He needs to get that tightened up. He leaks a little power. It's hard to believe that he could get more power than he has, but he could. The big thing about letting the ball get away from your ankle, though, is you also lose accuracy. So both players start with a spare and 3 strikes, and here they are side by side. 2 very, very different ways of doing it, all synced up at release, but both ways very effective. Jesse with a little more ball speed than Anthony. But, boy, there they are, the long and the short of it. Both of them very capable of throwing big numbers. There you go. That little half pocket strike and still snapping out the corner pin. Watch it. Watch the 6 pin, the second one from the right. It's going to go to the right wall and come back and tomahawk out the 10. Thank you very much. All right. Jesse working on 3 in a row. And that's where it will end. That one a little too wide. So he leaves the 2. Lucky it didn't have company, honestly. When you hit that thin and the head pin goes in front of the 2, it usually spells trouble, like a 210. But he covers the spare. So Anthony Douglas with an 11-pin lead halfway through the championship match. Looks like we could have a high-scoring match here the way things are going. So you can close gaps rather quickly. Oh my, what is this? Well, this is where you call the counter and say out of range on lane 9. That's the 2-pin in front, and it was pushed off spot. Here's the 2-pin, watch it. See, it slides over into the 5, and the 5 gets knocked over, but it stands the 2-pin back up. And I was expecting the pin setter to either knock it over or the machine to cycle, but no, he gets to shoot it as is, and he covers it beautifully. That was not an easy spare. The 2-4-8 is not an easy spare when they're on spot, but when they're separated like that, boy, anything could happen, but good spare. Anthony with 2 strikes working. But now he comes up light. And he leaves the 2, 4, 5, 7. Now this one can be kind of tricky. We recommend putting the ball on the 2, 5. Let the 2 get the 4 get the 7. You can make it on the left side as well. But boy, if you let it hook a little too much, you're past the 2 pin and no way you can recover from there. He does go to the left side and makes it. Well, once again, as we mentioned earlier, the players on our left on lanes 7 and 8, that is the Division III group. And when we get to the end of the match here and after we talk to our eventual winner, we'll let you know how things went there in Division III as we will recap their stepladder finals results. Well, Anthony caught that one with his fingers on the upswing. Sometimes you loft the ball a little more that way, but also sometimes you give it a little more juice with the fingers when you catch the ball on the upswing, and I think that's what happened. Caused the ball to overreact, overhook through the nose, and now there it is, the 3-6. We saw him shoot this earlier, and he made it. But this is another one of those spares that you like to see him shoot it from the far left side of the approach. And that's why, look at that. That 6 pin's wiggling because the ball actually touched the 6 pin. Wow. When you actually touch the pin with the ball, you expect it to fall over, but not to be. But Jesse unable to take advantage with a strike, and he leaves a tricky little spare now. The 4-8, one we don't see all that often, but I tell you what, he's hitting so light in the pocket. He can carry a lot of those light hits, but you get a little too light and you start leaving all kinds of weird stuff. But he makes the very choppable 4-8 to keep this a match, just 1 pin separating them. Jesse with a razor-thin 1-pin lead. I told you I thought this was going to be a close one. Wow. Stand back, you might get hit by the shrapnel. Solid strike for Jesse. Here it is once again. Over the 4th arrow, out to about 6. Man, he is covering some boards, isn't he? All right, Anthony looking to bounce back after that unfortunate open. Oh, you could see him gesturing with his left hand, pointing left. He knew that was going high or Brooklyn. And wow, talk about a break. Watch this, through the nose. Yep, it is going to go right through the nose, and that's the head pin that knocks out the 6. You don't see that every day. But we are knotted up in a 1-pin match, just 1 pin separating these two. Both with a strike up in the 8th. Anthony up in the 9th. Oh, and he almost tripped out the 4-9, but the 4 doesn't quite get the 9. He could have taken the lead with a strike, but as it is, he'll need to cover this spare to stay within a pin of Jesse, who has a strike up in the 8th. Tension, anyone? Still anybody's match. All right, Anthony with the spare. Anthony with a possible 223. Jesse going at a 2:14 pace. Oh my goodness, check and see if there are any bodies left. Jesse pulling out to an 11-pin lead heading into the 10th frame. This is his best shot of the match. Nearly had a stone 8, but now the situation is this. Jesse, with a strike on this ball, can just about shut out Anthony. That was close. Just a little high. And now Jesse has left the door open just a crack for Anthony. And we have the possibility of a tie. Jesse, with a spare here and a strike on his fill ball, would finish with 223. Anthony would then need all 3 strikes in the 10th to tie. No, Jesse thought he threw it too wide, but it came back. So a strike here on his fill ball, and he will finish with 223. That would force Anthony to throw all 3 strikes in the 10th to tie and send this thing into a 9th and 10th frame roll-off. We haven't had one of those this season. No, an 8 count. So he's left the door open for Anthony. Anthony needs 2 strikes and 9. His brother PJ was in a similar situation in Olathe 2 seasons ago. Bowling against Colby Lovegren, he needed all 3 strikes in the 10th to win by 1. He did it in a thrilling finish. So we know ice water runs in the veins of the Douglas boys. Anthony must strike. No, it's the 3-6 again. Oh. So Jesse Holtkamp has won in his first appearance on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. It's going to be another second-place finish for Anthony. He gives it a little extra room to make that 3-6 this time. Boy, if he had made it in the 7th frame, he could have won without even throwing a strike in the 10th. Shaker won't go, but it's academic now. Jesse Holtkamp is the winner. And I'll bet they're throwing a party in Georgia right now at Hunter Moffitt's house. Jesse Holtkamp will sign the coveted trophy pin, and you'll meet him next. I had a feeling that final match would be one that went down to the final balls, and sure enough, it did. I'm sure Anthony would like to have one shot back, the one where he chopped the 3-6 in the 7th frame. His ball even touched the 6-pin, barely, and it left it wiggling as it chopped the 3 off. If he converts that spare, he could have won without a strike in the 10th frame. That's how important spares are. But it was still a close match that could have gone either way, and I'm sure Anthony will be back. But today, it's Jesse Holtkamp who made just enough shots to claim victory. So that means he's punched his ticket to the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions in June and will be signing the coveted trophy pin. Well, it's another first-time winner on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and driving up from Junction City, Kansas.
Got up at 6:30 to drive up here, make it here on
How
time.
long of a drive is it from Junction City?
An hour and a half, not too bad.
That's not too bad.
No.
Well, how did you bowl so well all day?
Just sticking to what I know. Throwing an eye on Max, I just got that ball. Probably one of the best balls I have right now. Very clean, how we have it drilled.
Excellent. Well, I know that your buddy back in Georgia, Hunter Moffitt, has to be watching this and probably jumping for joy for you. Is there anything you'd like to say to Hunter?
Well, I know he's been bowling pretty good recently, so just keep it up, Hunter. I'm ready to see you. It's been a long time, so...
Let's both tell Hunter to get his butt up here to Kansas City.
Hey, he needs to.
Bowl the KCO and maybe, just maybe, qualify for Prodigy again.
Yes.
I know Prodigy World, Prodigy Land would love to see that.
I'm going to try to get him up here just for you, Hunter.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you know what this means. You get to sign the coveted trophy pin. And Jesse Holdcamp has now punched his ticket to the Prodigy Tournament of Champions in June. And I trust you will be there with bells on. But if you want to leave the bells at home, you can do that too. And here is another Prodigy TOC entrant. It's Jesse Holdcamp, the winner in Division 1 here in Lawrence at Royal Crest Lanes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier in the show, the players to our left on lanes 7 and 8 were the Division 3 finalists. Here's how their stepladder played out. In the opening match, the 5 seed, Dylan Hunt, defeated Caston Meyer, the reigning handicap champion at the Prodigy TOC, 232 to 181. Then in match 2, Dylan Hunt poured it on, defeating the 3 seed, Rachel Platt, 245 to 205. But then in match 3, Annalise Keeler stopped Dylan Hunt's march to the top, 209 to 190. And that set up the championship match between Annalise and the tournament leader, Andrew Farrow, who, as you may recall, along with his adult partner, Lloyd Kaufman, won the 2023 KCO Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in Division 4 last year. This time, Andrew didn't need a doubles partner to defeat Annalise Keeler, 228 to 178, to take the title. So congratulations to Andrew Farrow of Topeka on his Division 3 championship today. On our last episode, we showed you the Division 2 stepladder finals, which was won by Topeka's Logan Glinka. We also told you about Bella Gonzalez winning another title in Division 4, and how Cale Dawson of Laurie, Missouri, down by the Lake of the Ozarks, took top honors in Division 5. So congratulations to all 5 division winners at the 2024 KCO November Point Tournament here in Lawrence, Kansas at Royal Crest Lanes. The next stop on the KCO calendar is Olathe, Kansas, where we'll be covering the first of 2 KCO Adult Youth Doubles tournaments this season. Look for our 2 December shows in the coming weeks. And remember, if you'd like to bowl in an upcoming KCO, or you just want more information about the tournament, visit their website at www.kansascityopen.com. There you'll find the schedule, rules, entry forms, and much more. Again, it's www.kansascityopen.com. If you like this video, let us know by hitting that thumbs up button to give us a like. Smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to receive notifications whenever we post new content. And remember to leave a comment. Just don't leave a spoiler, a comment that gives away what happens. All these things help us grow the channel, and none of them cost you a dime. Like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and be sure to share the video with your family and friends, anyone you know who's into bowling. If you'd like to support the creative work that goes into producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour, become a Prodigy patron. For just $5 a month, our patrons receive early access to all the full-length episodes of the show. And for $10 a month, you not only get early access, but you also get your name listed in the show's closing credits as an executive producer. Like they do in those blockbuster Hollywood movies. Point your web browser to www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour and follow the instructions to become a patron. To keep up with all things Prodigy, join our Facebook group. From any page on Facebook, type into the search bar Prodigy Bowlers Tour and hit enter. That'll take you to a page where you can submit a request to join our group. You'll be presented with 3 screening questions. Now, if you don't answer them, your request will be declined because we'll just assume you're another spam bot, and nobody wants spam bots joining the group. So that's a wrap on this edition of Prodigy. I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to let us know by leaving a comment down below. Next time you hear from me, we'll be in Olathe, Kansas at the 2024 KCO December Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. So until then, this is Coach Randy reminding you to stay behind the foul line and keep kicking out the corner pins, not the foul lights or ball returns. And I'll talk to you again next time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.